Hi, AJ Cataldo here again, December 18th. This episode, there are a lot of differences in culture between Cambodia and the Philippines, and I'm going to cover some of the things that I've observed already in the Philippines. Prepare you if you happen to find a Filipina with children. This will give you some insight into what they refer to as saving face. It's quite extreme, and it takes the form of deception. So, my Filipina's 17-year-old was in her junior year. They call it senior year. Yeah, they have a first senior year and a second senior year in the Philippines. And shortly after her mom moved in with me, the place she was living became no longer available. She was living in a large, elevated hut, um, and it was at my Filipina sister's house. She sold the house, so the 17-year-old had to move. And so she moved in with us. She was staying up all night and sleeping during the day and missing classes. So she's in her junior year. She's missing classes. She's up till like 3, 4 a.m. Then she sleeps all day. Then she misses classes. So I asked her mom, I said, in America, this gets you in a lot of trouble. It's called truancy. And so mom would ask her, and she would make her mom cry, and her mom would not explain to me why she was crying. It happened half a dozen times over a period of a month and a half or two. Uh, I went ahead and I went out and I said, look, I'm going to buy you a laptop to help you with school, and then buy you some wireless headphones. And I know you can use the laptop to go online and do other things, and the headphones, and that's okay. All I ask is that you do a little of each. So 600 for the laptop, 100 for the headphones. I'm actually glad I did that. We later found out she was in trouble at school, and she finally had to fess up. That was after a few months. Her mom went to the school, and I asked her, why did you lie to your mom? And she said she did not want to hurt her mom. And her solution, prior to our finding out, was she wanted to go live with her grandmother. So she was completely willing to drop out of high school in her junior year, which I did not want to see that happen. They have to graduate from high school and they have to go to college to have a good life. If they don't graduate from high school, it's not a good thing, especially here in the Philippines. It's not a good thing anywhere. But that was her solution. So rather than tell her mom that she was in trouble in school, she wanted to move and live in with grandma and stop going to high school. Now, I don't know if this would happen with an American child or not. I don't think it would. I think the kid would say, hey, I'm in trouble with school. And then mom and dad could intervene and help out and help the kid find a solution. Mom and dad have more life experience. So I said to her, I said, find out what you can do to make up. Went to one of her teachers, the head teacher, the lead teacher, and she said, I want 2 papers on philosophy. And she said, that's what they want. I said, well, have you had a philosophy course? And she said, no. And I said, well, lucky you. I did. I had 2 courses in philosophy as an undergrad, and I loved it. One was logic, and the other was on Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, David Hume, all that stuff. Descartes, uh, epistemology, study of the origin, disagreements on the origin of knowledge, stuff like that. So I said, okay, get your laptop computer, come on down. We're going to go to YouTube. We're going to watch a video on Socrates. We'll do the first paper on Socrates. She sits down with me. I said, now what we want to do is watch the video. We don't want to plagiarize. I want you to paraphrase, and then you can cite the source in your paper. As this YouTube, her typing was excellent, her English was excellent, her grammar and her punctuation was excellent. I said, what we're going to do is we're going to ignore the fluff. And so we're watching the video. We spent about an hour. I said, now remove the fluff. And she did. She's smart, really smart. She speaks English very well, and she reads and writes it well, and the grammar and punctuation is excellent. I'm a retired university professor, and I have required papers from my students that she's good. So we did it for an hour, and I said, "Do you think you can do the rest yourself?" And she said, "Yeah, I do." And so she went upstairs to her room. It's a two-bedroom, two-bath apartment. And she wrapped up the paper, and I said, "Have you finished the paper?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Can you email this paper to your teacher? I want her to see immediate results and be impressed." And she said, "Yeah, I have her email." I said, "Send it to your teacher." And she did, and the teacher immediately waived the second paper requirement, and she was okay for a while. Uh, but she was still in trouble. She missed a lot of classes. Uh, what we did then, this was a private school, but I don't think it was very good. And there was a public school alternative that was very large, and I think it was better. So we moved her from the private school to the public school. Now I went with her to meet with her and her mom, to meet with the principal. I said, "Hi, my name's AJ, retired university professor. I gave him my resume. It's a short form resume, 4 or 5 pages. I said, we'd like a 17-year-old to transfer here, and he told us what we need to do." Now, when they transfer from one high school to another in the Philippines, you need a letter of good conduct. The old school was not going to give it to her. The problem was, and I didn't know this, there's a 21,000 peso arrearage. So I paid the 21,000 peso arrearage, and immediately, and this was very interesting, the mom took the money to the principal of the old school, the old private school. It was after 5 p.m. The principal called in someone back to work to type up the letter of good conduct, honorable conduct, whatever. Uh, Problem was solved. She's at the new, larger public school. She's been on the honor roll 2 consecutive semesters, doing great. Now, I'll now cover this in a later episode. This is all about saving face. Saving face means live. Uh, so be aware of this. And in fact, some of the other YouTubers allude to this fact. They may not mention it directly, especially if it's a foreigner, because they don't want to get deported. It's possible to get in trouble if you put certain information on YouTube. So saving face, wanting to move to grandma's house, drop out of high school. This is really extreme. When it was very easy for us to solve this problem. I mean, think about it. What do I have to do to solve it? Find out what the teacher wants. Do a paper that took a couple hours. Email it to her. Pay the arrearage of 21,000 pesos. Smooth it out, everything for the principal of the new school. Honorable, doing great. And I will mention, I'll do this in a later episode, the 17-year-old did eventually engage in behaviors that caused the breakup of me and her mom. So please like, please subscribe, please make comments, and I'll see you next time.